fellow nerds. It's time for our next installment of Jedi Survivor. So, let's get to playing, gents.
Okay.
Actually,
Well, you'll play and we'll watch you fall.
oh, nice. Yes.
You know, actually, I think that this is sort of like our brand, I think. Because I've been watching a couple of other Let's Play channels. Well, I'm sorry, I should rephrase. I've been watching a couple of defunct Let's Play channels because, unfortunately, you know, YouTube channels they come and go. There was this channel that I used to watch all the time a couple of years ago called It was originally called Two Best Friends Play, and it was literally just two buds that were sitting around playing video games. And then they expanded their cast and crew to a bunch of other people, and they renamed themselves Two Best Friends Play. But and their thing was that they would like interweave all of these like comedic elements into the game. Like they were usually pretty good at the game, but it was all of their just comedic nonsense of like them interacting with the decisions that were being made in the game. Or sometimes they would like dare each other to do things that would be out of the ordinary. They were playing you guys remember that game Detroit Become Human?
No.
It was about robots, and basically they were almost one for one. They looked identical to humans, and they were becoming more and more alive. But they had all of these laws that were made, so you weren't allowed to treat them like a human. That way people wouldn't get too confused. Like, no, they are robots, they are not people. And they started, as they do, a robot revolution. And so, like, part of the game, you're playing as a robot detective trying to basically return it to the status quo. All right, what happened there, Keith? What's that? What's that respawn there for?
No, nothing.
So you're Blade Runner, but you're detecting robots.
Yes. And you're trying to find the reason why robots are suddenly gaining sentience and why they're acting up the way that they are, because they're not supposed to. They're supposed to be doing what they're told.
Oh, my sister died in the spaghetti.
But yeah, so like they're supposed to be like, oh yeah, he's a hard-boiled detective, and you've got these like goofballs in the background that are daring each other. Make the robot jump off the building. Make him go harass those citizens.
All right, now cancel the show. Okay, now start it up again.
Yeah, unfortunately, their show did get their channel ended up going off the air. I think they boiled it down to like creative differences, as a lot of things do. Like each person had their own different idea of the direction they wanted things to go. But it was very funny, very good for what they did when they were good, you know. But then the polar opposite, there is a channel that is actually still going strong called the Game Grumps, and they are terrible at video games. They are god awful at video games. Like they struggle to the point where like if they figure like a move out, they will like keep repeating that same move because it's the only thing they figured out about that video game.
That'd be me. That would be.
And I think the funniest part about watching their channel is literally just watching them struggle. And like especially if it's a game that you've played and then you're watching them like fumble through every action. You're sitting there like, no, oh my god, what are you doing?
Man,
to take it all back, I wonder if there are anybody who is watching our Let's Plays and they're watching Keith on his like 60th fall and like, dude, will you just jump off the wall and then land on the ledge?
Stand here, BD.
I would assume there's got to be.
Oh my god, you totally missed that secret outfit. He could be wearing a poncho right now.
That's what he wants too. He wants a poncho.
Everybody wants a poncho.
Dude, if they made a version of my favorite game for the Xbox, I would love to sit here and play that with you guys.
And what is that?
Metal Gear Solid.
Oh. I thought they still made Metal Gear games.
I think they got new ones, but that's the... I think the version I like was version 2. and you cannot find it anywhere. You can't even find it. You know, like some games they make adaptable, play them on the next console. You can't do that with this one.
They didn't remaster it or anything?
No.
They're about to, I think so. I think they're going to come out with one soon.
Nice.
Oh, well, that's a Christmas
Well, if they
gift,
do,
guys.
we should have Dave do
A let's play.
Yeah. I'm going to. I'm still trying to work out how I'm going to convince you guys, but I am going to, over the next couple of weeks, slowly try to convince you to let me do a let's play of the redone version of Super Mario RPG, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with anything we talk about. It is not Star Wars or superheroes or.
Does it come out in what, October?
November.
November.
Yep, November 17th.
I am all for it because I love that game. So I would love to watch you play, Doug.
I love that game too. I recently found out. I haven't used emulators in a while. I used to on my MacBook because it was like one of the only ways that I was able to play video games on my old MacBook. That was like back in, boy, I'm dating myself. Back in the day when they used to make two separate versions of games, they had a PC version and a Mac version because that was the world we lived in. The only way that I could really play games on my Mac was downloading emulators, and I would play like a lot of older games. I would play like N64 games and stuff.
Frogger.
Yeah, I played a lot of stuff like that. So I recently found out that there's a ton of emulators out there for like the Atari 2600, for the Super Nintendo, N64, Xbox, PlayStation 2, like just. They even had a Neo Geo emulator, which I don't even know. I didn't know anybody that owned that console.
So you too could play the Atari 2600 version of Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, you could.
Why would you two? Why would the Edge and Bono want to play that game?
Oh, they already have, and they got the highest score that you can ever get.
Yeah, they're ahead of us all.
Yeah.
Why would we exclude them? I mean, you two can play it. Why can't they?
Right.
We want to say they can't.
But that led me down this weird rabbit hole. I did not realize how many ROM hacks there were of these older games. Like, people are like, yeah, I played that game over and over, and it just got to the point where it's too easy for me. So I made it ridiculously hard.
Most of the games I played growing up,
mm-hmm.
most of them, like except for like the Metal Gear Solid, were all sports games. So then, they wouldn't be effective on here. We could sit here and play a baseball game.
There was an NBA game on the Sega Genesis, and I was terrible at sports games, like I am with actual sports. But my favorite part about this game were the secret codes that you could put in, and you could make these little like hidden characters pop up. And the best part was, like, again, this was like pre-internet, right? So you found out about these like secret hidden things from like the playground. Like, did you hear that if you put in NBA 94, come on, you can make Jason appear in the crowd? What? I heard Bill Clinton is in the game. Oh.
Yeah, you just gotta go left, right, left, punch, punch, punch.
Right. And so I'd be sitting there like, okay, what did Ben say it was? Hold on, let me put it. Shit, let me try it again.
Nope, that's not right. You get one thing wrong in this 15 combination, then you don't get it.
He said it was his uncle worked at Sega.
Sega. I don't know if you know.
Doesn't hurt here.
Sega does what Nintendo don't.
You heading to the cantina anytime soon? Probably.
There is a rumor out there that Microsoft is trying to buy Sega.
Why would I do that?
I heard about
because
that.
He won't serve me anymore.
They're gonna bring back
happen.
NHL '94.
Credits when I got credits.
That's an EA game. They already own EA. So.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have new
I hope it
hockey
doesn't
games
happen.
every year still.
I've
Me
got a
too.
very
I mean,
selfish reason for that, though. I am a huge fan of the Persona games. The longer title being Shin Megami Tensei, Japanese stuff. But they were bought out. They were made by a company called Atlas, and Atlas was bought by Sega. And so now, if Microsoft buys Sega, they're going to probably make it a console specific, the new one for their Xbox consoles. And it used to be that these would come out on Nintendo consoles. They would come out on PlayStation. I think they were on Xbox too, but I don't remember. But yeah, like Atlas was pretty chill about like releasing them to everything. But I guarantee if Microsoft gets their grubby hands on them, no bueno.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the big thing with Microsoft buying Bethesda. So now all of these Bethesda games are probably going to be Xbox exclusives.
Yep.
And, I own an Xbox, so it's not bad for me. Like Starfield. I keep calling it Starfield. I don't know if it's Seinfeld. But Starfield, which looks amazing, not only is going to be an Xbox exclusive, but it's going to be free for Game Pass. And I have Game Pass, so I've already pre-downloaded it. So I basically get to play this next Bethesda giant game. This huge, massive. They've probably put millions of dollars into building this for free. And I'm pretty excited.
Huh. All right.
What happened?
But of course, I'm sure if I was a PlayStation. Well, then again, exclusives always bother me.
Have you started playing it at all?
It doesn't come out till September 6th.
Oh, I thought you were saying that you had already downloaded
I downloaded the preload. You're allowed to download it. You can't play it. That way, when it comes out, you don't have to download the game.
I see. Okay.
With everybody else in the world at that time.
I heard a rumor, and I don't know how true this is. I heard a rumor that Starfield was built off of the Fallout 4 engine, or the Fallout 76 engine.
It probably was.
That they've spruced up the graphics a bit, but it still operates pretty much like their previous games.
Yeah.
And they're saying it's going to probably be 30 frames per second, which doesn't bother me. I'm not a video game snob, and I'm not like, my vision's not what it was.
I hope that when it's released, we get our day one, like 80 different bugs. That is really the Bethesda promise.
It is.
Oh, am I phasing through the planet? Cool.
It's like you got swallowed by a sarlacc or something.
It's literally stuff like that. So like in the
let me check the Bethesda blog page. Oh, a patch is coming to fix it. What just happened to me in 2 days? I'll come back.
I know things are different from how they used
to be. Like the release day of the game, they're usually announcing within an hour of the release. 4 new patches are going to be coming out over the next couple of weeks. We're so sorry.
Sometimes it's before the game even drops. It's like the day before. Just so you know, we're working on a patch to fix a few things.
Your game ain't going to work right, but here, take it.
The first time that I had booted up Fallout 4, I was playing it, and it was before they had patched like a lot of the major bugs. And at one point, my dog companion had fallen through an elevator shaft and was like trapped in, I'll call it the world between worlds. And there was no way of getting to him. So the thing was, like, whenever you have somebody, this was again before it was patched, whenever you had somebody already marked as your companion, you couldn't get somebody else. And I couldn't release the dog as my companion because, again, he's in Nowhereville. I couldn't find him. I couldn't get to him. And also he had a lot of my, like, I'd ran out of room, carry space, and I'd given him a lot of, like, stuff to carry with him, and he took it with him to hell.
It reminds me, of course, I'm going back to Rick and Morty again. It reminds me of that episode when they were in the simulation. My man! Slow down!
That is pretty much how playing their games on day one is. Every single time, it's just like that.
That's too bad. I mean, is there a danger of Microsoft becoming a monopoly here, buying all these different video game companies?
It wouldn't be the first time. They were a monopoly before when they pushed Netscape out of the internet game.
Yep.
Well, we need some antitrust laws to take care of this.
Well, they were trying to buy
did.
Activision too, and the
Mhm.
UK put a stop to it. And I don't think the purchase, Microsoft is still trying, but I don't think the purchase is going to go through because they would just have so much.
They would have their
Oh,
grubby
they-
little
they-
hands in everything.
Yep, they sure would.
Yeah, then you would have the illusion of variety because they're not going to call it Microsoft. They're still going to call it Activision.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When's the last time the government actually broke up a monopoly? What is that? The phone company back in the 80s?
No, it was recently. It was almost going. There was almost going to be a monopoly with. It was AT&T and
Too steep to climb.
who was it? It was right around when they were
Won't even eat you.
when they still owned, like HBO and Warner and everything like that. They were trying to buy some other company,
I just know it.
and the government put a stop to that. They're like, no, we cannot let this sale go through. I don't remember who it was they were trying to buy, but basically they would have become like a super monopoly. They would have owned a bunch of because AT&T had already bought up a couple of like minor competitors in the phone field, but
They
then they're
bought
also going to buy up
DirecTV.
a bunch of production companies too, and so they
See,
would have like just been all over all communications and media.
Yeah, and that's really dangerous. Because then you get one message.
And it
What we find up here.
it worries me about Disney doing the same thing. The only problem is nobody's really speaking up about it because at the moment most of the stuff prior to the pandemic that they were putting out was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And so as Disney is like gobbling up all of these other companies, we're like, yeah, absolutely, they're making good shit. Keep it up. I'll get a shovel and I'll shovel it into Disney's big, mouth. Let's go. Gobble gobble, Disney, eat it up. Yum yum. I love trash.
Another Rick and Morty reference. I love it. All night tonight.
But yeah, I'm afraid that eventually it's going to get to the point where we're so used to it happening that all of a sudden we're going to get the news like, oh, Disney is buying, Showtime. Oh, huh. Well, that's a weird move. All right, I guess.
Disney owns everything.
Disney's
and
buying
here's your
Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. Oh, what? Really? Huh. Odd move. I
Very
thought they had
dangerous.
enough, but okay. Disney owns all of Viacom. Whoa, all right. And I think it's going to, this is what I'm afraid of, that it's going to keep moving to the point where they're going to keep doing stuff and nobody's going to raise their hand and be like, hey, I think we should do something about Disney until it's too late. Now, when it comes to, companies like Warner doing it, they keep putting out bad stuff, and so we're real quick to jump on it, don't let them buy that, they're bad.
I saw you tearing through the woods.
Yeah, but you're right.
Remember
Disney,
me? Name's Toa.
pre-pandemic, Disney was
Freelance.
putting out good shit.
Mhm.
And when they started buying everything up, everything after that's taking it. They've kind of stumbled.
This is my first
I want to
time
say
in
everything's
Midway,
garbage, but a lot of it's
I can
not
already
as
tell
high
this place
quality.
is a troll.
Mm-hmm.
Centuries
Well,
ago,
Sony is about to do
Scratch
about to
out
find
the living
themselves in a
under the
similar
sky.
plane, but I don't know if
Hell,
anybody is
they sure chose
kind
a
of raising their
vibrant
hand
world.
to, we should do something about
Let me
this
know if you
just
find more
yet.
of those chambers, yeah?
Hey,
And
hold on one sec. NYSQ, thanks for coming out.
oh, hey,
It's
what do you got?
been
Hey.
a while.
What up?
You don't look
We
like
haven't
a
seen you. I
raven.
know you were streaming on
Give it
Kick
away.
for a little bit. How was your
Plaster in my
experience? We
face,
have
spilling
thought about
drinks and
dabbling
shouting
over on
bloody
Kick for a
murder.
little bit too.
Mhm.
Wondering how your experience was, sir.
That's BD1. I'm Cal.
About dang time we had some new faces in
We
town.
shall see.
I'm Zig, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
So I know that you two gentlemen are not super familiar with anime,
Right.
That is a
but
true
there
statement.
there were a limited number of services that existed in the United States that would, dub or localize, and add subtitles and everything, to anime. Like they would purchase the licensing rights from the Japanese production companies. And there are a ton of these companies, right? They're just like American media companies. There are a ton of different Japanese anime companies, but then these local US companies will buy the licenses from Aniplex, from this, from that, from this and that, and then they put it all on their platform. And for a good while, the two main heavy hitters were Funimation, which was owned by Sony, and Crunchyroll, and I don't remember who they were owned by. They might have just been their own company. And then eventually a few others popped up. There was another one called High Dive, and then there was another one called Verve. Verve, for a good while, was just kind of its own thing. I want to say they were owned by either Paramount or Viacom or something like that, and then they had licensing rights for a lot of the same stuff. So Crunchyroll bought Verve, and it was like, oh, that's kind of worrisome. All right, we're taking out one of our competitors. But then Sony made even bigger moves, and they bought Crunchyroll. Sony already owns Funimation. Then they bought Crunchyroll, which had just bought Verve. So now, the only two main heavy hitters, if you want to even call them that, are Sony with their three companies that they own for anime, and High Dive. And then the only other competition that they have, and I struggle to call it that, is Netflix and Hulu. But when I say I struggle to call it that, it's because Netflix and Hulu, that's not their main space. Like, they'll show some stuff. Like, Netflix has a couple of Netflix anime originals, and Hulu, they'll usually get the license for other stuff that, like, Crunchyroll has already produced. So, in reality, it's barely competition. Recently, I heard Sony is trying to acquire High Dive. And nobody's raising any red flags about this. They're trying to have the monopoly on all US-based anime distribution. And that feels gross. Like, they shouldn't be allowed to do that, right?
Let's get them in the ground.
No.
They shouldn't be. No, you're right.
It's just really weird.
If you make an inferior product, you should suffer the consequences.
Well, that's the thing. Like, when they had originally bought Crunchyroll, it came with like a series of just terrible design flaws, because Funimation was significantly different the way that it ran versus how Crunchyroll ran. Recently, I'll say within the past month, they fixed a few of the issues, but the UI on their apps is still pretty god-awful. And the other thing, they haven't told anybody, or they have not shut down the service that, like, auto withdraws, banking information for people on Funimation. But here's the thing, they stopped uploading new stuff to Funimation. They keep telling people move over to Crunchyroll, but they're not shutting down the Funimation service, and they're not stopping it from, billing people.
Wasn't
And it looks
Crunchyroll?
like Naismith saying, I remember MAGA Productions back in the 90s. They were dope.
Yeah.
Oh, he likes Kick. Kick is good. I get a lot of viewers there.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely have to check it out, gentlemen. Sony's pulling a Disney.
Yeah, they
All
are.
of the major. It's like, and I know Doug's not a big, college football fan. I don't think Dave is either. But what's going on in college football right now? There used to be like all these different. I don't want to call them divisions, but there was like the Big Ten, there was the Pac-10, the SEC.
Yeah.
Now they're becoming super conferences. Yeah, conferences. Like the Big Ten now has like 14 teams in it. They're talking about expanding another couple. The SEC
I think it's
is
16
expanding.
now. I think it's
Yeah, there's
16
14 now, but
Big
they're
Ten.
talking about 2 more coming in another year or two.
Which
And
is
it's
nuts.
just, they're just like, once again, hey, you know what? We can get all of the money by having these super conferences with their TV deals with all the different teams. And college football is just kind of getting away from what it was before.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's too
it's
bad when
happening
that
everywhere. Yeah.
happens. It doesn't help the consumer at all. It limits
No.
your options as a consumer.
Yeah, you're right. It's a shame.
Must feel good to get back in the cockpit after so long.
It'll come full circle. You know, think about it. Everything almost
Never been to
does throughout history. You know, it's like there was a time when unions were needed because the workers, kind of like now, were getting the shaft in every way, and then unions came in and kind of leveled the playing field. Then unions got too powerful, and you know, started. It's like,
Pendulum swings.
yeah,
Yep.
whoever has the power takes complete advantage of it. And you just gotta, you know, keep the pendulums here. Let's start working towards getting it in the middle again. So hopefully one day.
Doesn't the saying go, absolute power corrupts absolutely?
Yep. It corrupts what?
I was waiting to see if you caught that.
Cal Kestis. It is an
But what was that? Was that service that you were just talking about? Was it Cracker Barrel? Cracker Head?
Crunchyroll?
Crunchyroll. Wasn't that free?
Oh yeah, back in the day it used to be.
It is too dangerous.
I think when Sierra lived with me, she downloaded it onto my Xbox.
Yeah, it used to be its own like independent service, and they were when they first came out, it was owned by people who loved anime and they wanted to localize it, and they were the ones who really they got a lot of voice actors, you know, on the ground floor. Like a lot of very famous voice actors nowadays got their start working for Crunchyroll.
Like Tom Kenny?
I don't know about Tom Kenny, but I know like quite a few of them. They would go on to voicing a ton of different characters because they got so Crunchyroll, most of their money came from just running ads, right? So they worked like it was sort of like a YouTube situation, right? So you didn't have to pay any sort of subscription service. And then eventually, I want to say a couple of years down the road, they offered an ad-free thing, so you could pay if you wanted to, but it was still free.
Yeah, you could just pay to get rid of the ads.
Right. Now, I think you have to subscribe. Which...
Be careful out there. No point.
You know, I was thinking about getting rid of
Have you been telling stories about me?
Netflix
I got plenty of
because
things
that's
to talk
costing
about
me
besides
$25 a month because I got the premium plan.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, I don't really watch it. And then what's the next thing coming on?
you be heading
Rebel
out now?
Moon? Is that the next thing we're gonna
Make
watch?
Sure you're all right.
I mean,
I
that's
guess.
it's gonna be garbage. But
Honestly, I keep forgetting. Like, I honestly, truly keep forgetting about Netflix. I cannot think of the last major thing that I really watched on it. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I
don't
mean,
know.
I
Like,
can go back there and watch Seinfeld, you know, but I've already seen Seinfeld like
yeah,
4 times. You know what I mean?
yeah. I don't
know-
need to pay like $20 monthly for that.
Yeah.
I know Becky and Tessie were watching Outer Banks, which is that show I was telling you about. It's like an Indiana Jones ripoff. But every time they're about to find, you know, some treasure, some bigwig comes and takes it from them.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't want to do this. Yeah, it kind of halfway fell. But like, they watched that, and Becky and I were watching Atypical a little bit. I don't know if you guys have seen Atypical. But
Yeah, I've seen it.
I have, yeah.
It's a pretty good show.
So nice. I remember when anime was a very niche fan base, but now anime is very mainstream. Yeah, I will fully admit that when I was in high school, only the true, like, Dorcas, avoid them like the plague kids in your high school were anime fans. It was like, oh man, that guy's wearing a Dragon Ball Z shirt. Don't talk to them. They're toxic for your for like if you want any sort of high school cred.
Yeah,
And
they're
so it
gonna
was
ruin
like,
your social status.
oh, absolutely. I don't have anything left to drink.
I'll drink 2 for you.
Thank
Well, I'll
you.
drink 1 for you and 1 for me.
But Yeah, I remember that. Like, I did not give it the time of day. I was just like, anime, that's for losers. And then
Time to climb.
when I was in the
NYBD.
army, that was when I finally like discovered. I'm like, oh, this show's actually kind of good. And I was watching, what was it called? Death Note, and it was, oh my gosh, like I think about it now, it was so cringy, like the main character.
Sierra
But
like Death Note.
Huh?
I've watched part of Death Note because Sierra
Yeah.
was watching it.
He's such a friggin' cringe edgelord. He's like, I discovered a notebook, and any name that I write in it, the person will instantly die. And then he's like so serious about all this stuff, and he's like, nobody's gonna catch me because while I'm pretending to study for my exams, I take a chip and I put it into my mouth, and with a swing of my hand, I write a name in the notebook. It's
Man, that
like,
sounds great.
Jedi.
Has
I
Zack
remember like
Snyder
being
got
really into it back in the day. Like I watched it, and I think it was like after all the seasons had already come out and everything. Like it was just like one of those things. I was like binging it because I had nothing else to watch.
Does he need to know how to spell your whole name, like
Yep.
by the letter?
Well,
Because
no,
if he doesn't, then he's gonna get somebody else, right?
Yep.
Or he just writes Doug and everybody named Doug.
Well, the way that they got around that was you had to have their full exact name and you had to picture them in your head, so you had to know what they looked like too.
Let's stay off the sand, buddy.
No, I could have done
So-
that with the guy coming off on the highway today.
So if you didn't know what they looked like and you didn't have their full name, it didn't work.
Nice.
But-
It says Akira is what changed me. I remember watching Speed Racer, but Akira was just ahead of its time.
I forgot about Speed Racer. Yeah, I guess that is anime.
I
I
watched Speed
remember watching that as a kid, but I never really got into it. Like it was good for like when there was nothing else on. But I remember
Uh-huh.
watching it and thinking, this is dumb.
It was a Saturday morning classic, man. I
I
had the
guess.
little Hot Wheels car that was number 5, you know.
Oh,
Mach
Speed
5,
Racer.
yeah.
Yeah. cool.
Okay.
protect me.
Dave, don't hate me for this.
Uh-oh.
You're gonna hate me for this. I
gonna
did
scroll.
watch the Pokemon anime when it was popular.
Oh boy. I don't know if hate's the word I would use. Astonishment?
Did you lose respect for me?
No, everybody has their moment.
Um,
Now,
to be
Keith,
fair, I was in
be
the
fair.
8th grade. I was in either the 8th grade or I was a freshman in high school. But yeah, it was like when it was at its peak of popularity. And I used to turn on Kids WB is where it would come on, and I would turn it on and I would watch the anime. It was so dumb. It was so dumb. And I remember I was just like, this is stupid. I don't even want to watch it. Like I think I made it through the first season and that was it. But I was super into it for those like first 800 episodes of the first season. That's how anime used to function.
yeah,
back
one
then-
per day.
One season was literally like friggin' 80 episodes. They were cranking them out like a factory. Hurry, draw more scenes. Oh my god, okay, fine. Pikachu's cute again.
Got something?
But you got to realize
It's like a prayer
the
wheel.
first 15 minutes is a recap of what's already happened. Then you get 5 minutes of show. Then you get the wind down. So they
you
could do
know
that.
this. You've seen anime. You know how it
Yes.
works.
Yes. I don't know why it works like that, but that's how it works.
There was this one that I was watching, and it was good for a little while. Like I was into it for a little while, but they started doing the same thing, and it got to the point where, I used to love a show called Bleach. That was another like really popular one around the early 2000s. To the point where if you go back and you watch the old episodes, they're still framed in 9:14 ratio or whatever.
Oh, Zack Snyder ratio, eh?
Basically, yeah. So they were framed for standard TV. And I was watching it, and it took me way longer than it should have. It took me so long to figure out that they did exactly what you described. They would spend like the first 15 minutes recapping the previous episode, Then they would have to do the intro song.
Mm-hmm.
Then they'd get into the episode proper. And part of that episode was usually like the good guy talking to the bad guy and telling them how they were going to beat them. And then maybe they would include a flashback, something that's going to like, really make you feel something about that character. And then that's the end of the episode.
Yep. And then they preview the next one.
But yeah, it took me so long to figure that out. Oh yeah, they preview the next one. That's right. But it took me so long to figure out that's what Bleach was doing until I was like into season 5 or 6, and I'm like, oh my god! It just occurred to me I'm 6 seasons deep, and they still haven't resolved the issue that started in season 1.
Yep. That's how they do it. What they used to draw anime out because it was
being adapted while the manga was coming out weekly. So they would draw it out until the new weekly. Oh my gosh, yeah. That does make sense. I did hear that that's what they mostly did with Bleach too, because they were taking so long to come out with the manga and to adapt it into anime. They created entire seasons that were filler, complete filler, unrelated in every way. And it would be like this thing would happen, this entire storyline would happen, and then in the season that finally was canon again, they never mentioned that. And I remember like the first time that I noticed that, I'm watching it, and they did this entire... So the premise of Bleach was, it was about Grim Reapers, basically. It was about Grim Reapers, and they had to fight souls who had turned to the dark side, effectively. They were so angry and so upset about being lost and forlorn souls that they became these monsters. And so it was up to these Grim Reapers with katanas to go and, kill them.
And that's not canon, is what you're saying.
No, that part was canon. Then they did an entire season that was about vampires. That wasn't. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a cool new twist. Didn't matter.
Keith, you remember Dallas, right? That one season?
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty much what got that show canceled. It used to be a popular show.
Yeah.
But they had one season where at the end of the season they revealed it was just the whole season was a dream by
one of the characters. Oh my god, no way they did that.
Yeah.
They did.
Oh no.
And, like, I just sat through that for what?
That still reminds me of like my favorite scene from Family Guy.
Which one?
When they did the Stewie kills Lois episodes.
Oh, the 100th episode.
Yeah.
Finally gets the killer.
Yep. And so it was like it was a 3 or 4 episode arc.
Yeah.
It was all about like, Stewie finally killing Lois, and then somehow he becomes president, and then all this crazy stuff happens. And then at the very end of the final episode, he lifts the helmet off his head and he goes, oh,
Maybe
well,
someone at Sears
so
Base would know
that's
what
how
to
it would have
make of this.
happened. Oh, very
Yeah.
crazy. Well, I know never to try that. And then Brian walks and says, oh, hey, Stewie, what were you up to? Oh, well, I was just using a visualizer to see what would happen if I, killed my mother. Oh. So would you say that you kind of went on like an entire adventure? Yeah, you could say it was a pretty long one. Oh, well, hypothetically, if somebody were to have, watched that along with you, do you think they'd be disappointed to find out that it didn't actually happen? No, I don't think so. I think they would be engaged along with me to see what could have been. No, I think they'd be pretty pissed off.
Yeah, he said, yeah, that's pretty much a middle finger to the fans right there.
Right, exactly.
Pretty much it is, though.
It is. It really is.
That is not cool to do. That's the reason you don't like Secret Invasion, because at any moment you think something could happen, and
It really could. It just could be a giant middle finger, and it'll be like, oh, they were a Skrull all along, and I'll be like,
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, cool, man.
Aren't I clever?
Aren't I clever?
Yeah.
Did you know that Tony Stark was secretly a Skrull the whole time?
Now we can replace him and have another
All right.
10 years with somebody else.
Oh, that would be even worse. God, if they did that.
Well, eventually they're gonna have to recast him.
Who,
But
Tony Stark?
Yeah, because he's got to have more adventures, you'd think.
I assumed they would do that if they decide to reboot the universe.
So that would have to be after Phase 7.
I guess, yeah. That'd be the only reason I could see why they would do that, because... And they might have to eventually. They might get to the point where they've told all the stories that they can tell in this universe, and they may want to, comic book it up and be like, we want to retell the, similar stories with these characters, obviously with different actors, but the only way that we can do it is by, rebooting the whole universe.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Some might
yeah,
say,
I mean,
absolutely.
and would they be as lucky the next time around with the casting? Because so far they've just been, it's been amazing how well they've cast.
It really has been. Yeah, no, they've done an impeccable job of casting. Like, literally, I cannot think of any role where I've been like, oh wow, that was a terrible choice.
Yeah, even when Don Cheadle came in, even when the
Yeah.
Skrull Rhodey came in. Well, I don't know. I've been hearing about like the Fantastic Four is not the best, the best casting, but I'll have to see how they do it first. I mean, you can't
Who's
judge
telling you
until-
that? They haven't even seen him playing the Fantastic Four. I think that'd be a little bit premature to say they weren't cast well. Because,
Right.
I mean, everyone was that way with Heath Ledger.
Yeah, see, the reason why I dislike fan casting so much is in almost every situation, you've got these people who I saw this actor who looked kind of like this character in this one role they played, and therefore I think they would be the perfect fit. Even if they would be a terrible fit, acting-wise, just because they kind of looked like that character once, these people on the internet think they would be a good fit. And it's like, that's not the way this works. Like, I think the thing that most people forget...
Doug, wait a minute. Are you telling me people on the internet are being irrational?
Often wrong, yeah. Well, the thing is, like, a lot of the times, like, when it comes to this, I think people forget, like, there are entire makeup departments that's their job, to make somebody look like costuming departments, makeup departments, to make somebody look like a character.
Yeah, and NYSQ just said, I really hope they don't drop the ball with Dr. Doom.
Yeah, well, you mean like they have the
100%.
previous 2 times?
Yes. Hope they don't do it again.
Hope
Because
they don't do it again.
Dr. Doom could be the
Yeah.
greatest villain throughout the MCU, and he could just keep coming back. So yeah, that's the whole Fantastic Four casting. For a while, they were saying, "Oh, it's going to be Adam Driver and Margot Robbie." Now those names have dropped off. Vanessa Kirby is supposedly has an offer for Sue Storm, and Dev Patel has been talked about for Reed Richards. Sometimes I'm just like, how about you guys come back when we hear some actual casting news? Like, it was nice that we found out who's playing Superman and Lois Lane.
Yeah.
That was a nice little drop. Of course, instantly on all the Snyder bots, he looks like Henry Cavill. He's too skinny. He's wrong.
He's
I
10
hear he
years
hates
younger than Henry
babies.
Cavill.
Yeah, I know. And, it's like, give the kid a chance. Even Henry Cavill was like, hey, we got our new Superman, welcome to the club, yada, yada, yada. And it's always, the actors and directors and everybody is always cool with everybody. And it's always the internet people who just can't deal with silly things like that.
Well, there have been
Now-
like some bad castings, in my opinion. I mean, like I didn't like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I didn't like it when I heard her as Sue Storm either. But it's not like I don't like her. It's just I don't think she's a fit. Just like Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. I didn't like that. I still don't like it. But I'll still watch it. Even after I've seen her play the character, I'm still not thrilled with it. There's better fits out there, I think. But as far as the MCU goes, over like that, those were just what DCU and Star Wars. They don't have the same track record as MCU. MCU's just done an excellent job.
I'm really hoping with James Gunn in control of the DC now, the DCU, that because he seems to make tremendous choices. I mean, Guardians, Suicide Squad, he really gets the most out of those actors, and I think he knows what
Peacemaker.
needs to be done. Peacemaker, yep.
Look at John Cena. You didn't like him until that show. You know?
Yeah, I was a huge.
I struggled to like when I first heard that. I was like, I don't know. I think that's going to be like a bad choice. And even he said like he thought at first when he was first signed on for that role, his initial thought was, oh, this is going to be super easy. And it wasn't until like he got into, acting, he realized, oh, this is like way harder than I thought it was going to be.
And honestly, when he was cast in the Suicide Squad, my first thought was, I hope it's a small part. Because I thought he would be embarrassed acting next to Idris and,
Yep.
all the big names that were in there. And then he held his own. Because for those of you that remember, for those of you who have been with the channel for a while, know that I hated Bumblebee because of John Cena. I just disliked his character. That's
Still haven't seen that movie.
I think you're good without seeing it.
Oh, okay.
If it's free on like FX one night, yeah, 10 minutes, you're fine.
What if it's free and it's on FX, but like Young Sheldon is also on some other channel?
Oh my God.
Then you pick up a book.
Yeah, then you don't watch anything.
Oh, and I just saw Nysith. Wait, what? Tony is a scroll? No. Tony Stark is not a scroll.
Not officially.
Yeah, so-
we were just talking
Bum,
out our
bum.
buttholes. But eventually, yeah, I think they got to reboot the whole thing. If it doesn't become unpopular by the end of Phase 7, with all these negative channels just bashing everything that comes out, no matter whether it's good or not, they just bash it, and that just drives me nuts.
I feel like as long as Disney owns the rights to the Marvel Universe, they're going to do whatever it takes to, keep making those paychecks. Because it's not like there are a whole lot of Disney originals anymore. They keep just remaking all of their original stuff. So
That's
they need something to cash those checks. And if it means eventually getting to the point where they've, run out of the stories that they can tell with the universe that they've created, and they feel like the only way to go forward is to reboot it, then they may end up doing that. But by that point, they'll probably have acquired every, original Marvel character that they can get their hands on, except for still Spider-Man somehow.
Sony won't give up Spider-Man. They'll have to buy Sony.
Sony will never give up. Sony is going to reboot the Spider-Verse again, and then they're going to be like, this time we're going to start off with Sinister Six. That's going to be the first movie.
We're not making that mistake we made last time. Sinister Six opens it.
Right.
Don't forget to hit us up on Twitter, leave that comment down below, and we will see you next time on Not Your Status Quo.